New Orleans is a community that has been faced with so many traumatic events. We're an area that certainly has demonstrated resilience in a lot of ways, and there's evidence of that throughout our community. Traumatic events and difficult circumstances require us to respond. In many ways, our response to adversity reveals our traits, reveals our character.
As a community, we love to do our own thing. We have people who have realized that, not everyone's going to do everything for them all the time. And so if we don't like the overgrown grass in the median, we're going to organize our own community and mow all those lawns ourselves. There are a lot of things about New Orleans that make it unique, but I think the thing that really differentiates it from other communities, people actually know their neighbors, and people want to know their neighbors. And I know that sounds like a very small thing, but it's very big, and it has repercussions in all different aspects of life, from the ability to self-organize, to get things started. It starts with knowing the people around you.
There's cultural bond in our past, in the traditions that New Orleans has and that we celebrate, and I think that's very beautiful. The bond in a community is always the good and bad and hard times, and I think when hard times hit, that eventually then creates a bond too. And the core of it is listening. Always listening to the community, listening what people say.
I think the communication is critical in this area, and that all of us should be one, really going toward a common goal. We know how to come back from something. When obstacles come our way, we can easily adapt to anything and just keep moving forward.
A good number of people just don't give up. New Orleans has had its challenges that stand out probably a lot more than a lot of other places, and we've had to figure out how to adapt. Some people kind of play down hope because it seems to be just like a pipe dream kind of thing. There are other people that talk about hope as a realistic assessment of how difficult it's going to be, but never giving up anyway.
Compassion is something beautiful that you feel inside of you from someone that you can find under the bridge, and you pick them up and you smell what he smells. You just see the person. I was in the street 1 year and a half. I'm working right now with homeless people, helping them. And so they can see myself, and they can say, I can do it too. If you worry for your neighbor, your friend, I think we're gonna be having a new war.
I think we have to develop different kinds of measures to gauge the success of a community, the extent to which we interact and respect each other, the extent to which we feel satisfied as a human being. Those are the kind of measures I think we don't do very good at measuring. I think the terrible problem of violence in our city and in many cities across the country is an expression of the lack of happiness, the expression of a lot of desperation. New Orleans is unique in so many ways. You hear the standard tales about music and food and culture. That's all true. There's a part of the people in New Orleans that kind of live on the edge. We embrace the kind of excitement of life on the streets. There's a fabric, there's a texture in New Orleans that is just unique in the world. We're an area that certainly has demonstrated resilience in a lot of ways. There's evidence of that throughout our community. The Dalai Lama's message is something that appeals to all people around the world. His message is about compassion, it's about ethical behavior, it's about how we are all deeply connected to one another and how we have responsibility for one another. So we felt it would be appropriate to ask His Holiness on his visit to our city to address issues of resilience. We thought of it as strength through compassion and connection. The ideas of compassion and connection grow completely out of his compassionate views of the world and his ethics and his teachings. 14 years ago, I began talking with one of my alums, a man named Neil Guidry, who started a small grassroots organization working with the Tibetan refugee community in North India, in Dharamsala. I started talking with Neil and discussing with him the principles that would guide this trip, and in part, it was about giving students an opportunity to understand how communities can be organized differently than they are in the West. This has been a great link to enable our students to both develop personally and professionally and see the important integration of the two. And in that sense, this class has been a wonderful success. And it's given us fantastic opportunity to be part of a community, in this case, the Tibetan refugee community in North India. There are so many events that are happening in relation to this visit, and it's not just the 3 or 4 days of His Holiness's visit. Planning for this has been going on for over a year. Some of the events that are occurring are things like the Prayer Flag Day, where we invited the community to raise prayer flags as an expression of welcome to His Holiness the Dalai Lama. The popularity of these events, the 2 public events in particular, was so dramatic, they sold out in hours. So we have made the decision to live stream by both video and audio. We have 16 monks from something called the Drepung Losling Monastery. They are absolutely expert in transmitting the mystical arts of Tibetan Buddhism wherever they go. And the thing I'm perhaps most excited about is the creation of a sand mandala. They're multicolored sands that are crafted into these intricate geometric patterns that represent roadmaps to enlightenment. And then at the conclusion, they ceremoniously deconstruct the mandala, which is an expression of impermanence. They also believe that the sand itself is embedded with blessing, and so they deconstruct the mandala, package it, take it to a waterway, in our case the Mississippi River, and join with the Gulf of Mexico and into the oceans and spread the messages of compassion throughout the world. We have 2 keynote speakers as part of our academic conference. One is Margaret Wheatley, who is a renowned author and community organizer. Dr. Davidson is a renowned neuroscientist who is a professor of psychology and psychiatry at the University of Wisconsin. He was the person that 40 years ago took EKG equipment up to the mountains in the Himalayas and wired the monks to understand the connection between meditation and mindfulness practices. He established some of the early research that demonstrated these practices in fact can be useful for creating a much more happier state. We hope as well that this momentum will carry, this energy and this expression of compassion and connection will carry forward and will enable us to benefit from the visit far beyond his actual visit.
Brothers and sisters, firstly, I want to make clear, you should not think person who's speaking is something special. Don't think that. We are same human being. Mentally, emotionally, physically. We are same human being. So on that level, entire 7 billion human beings are same. Everyone wants happy life. Everyone wants have every right to achieve happy life. So now we need, because of the effort to promote awareness of oneness of humanity. That I think very important. Everybody wants happy life, do not want problem. But problem are self-created. Why? Out of ignorance, out of short-sightedness, out of sort of narrow sort of view about interest, short-term interest, more sort of sense of concern of others' well-being. Then that gives you self-confidence, inner strength.